The Chronicles of Narnia, The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe is an epic fantasy adventure film that brought C.S. Lewis's beloved classic novel to life on the big screen. This movie marks the first installment in the Chronicles of Narnia film series and was produced by Walden Media in partnership with Walt Disney Pictures. The film was directed by Andrew Adamson, who was previously known for his work on the Shrek animated films. Released in 2005, this cinematic adaptation became a massive success both critically and commercially, captivating audiences worldwide with its magical storytelling and stunning visual effects. The production was a major undertaking that involved extensive location shooting in New Zealand, where the breathtaking landscapes provided the perfect backdrop for the mystical land of Narnia. The film's development began in the early 2000s when Walden Media acquired the rights to the Narnia books, with Disney coming on board as the distributor. The budget for this ambitious project was estimated at around $180 million, making it one of the most expensive films of its time. The investment proved worthwhile as the movie went on to earn over $745 million at the global box office, establishing itself as a major franchise starter. Andrew Adamson's vision for the film was to create a timeless fantasy adventure that would appeal to both children and adults, staying faithful to the source material while utilizing modern filmmaking techniques. The production involved collaboration with numerous talented artists, designers, and visual effects teams to bring the magical world of Narnia to life. From the practical effects and animatronics used for many of the creatures to the groundbreaking CGI work that brought characters like Aslan to life, every aspect of the production was meticulously crafted. Plot details: the story begins in war-torn London during World War II, specifically in 1940 during the Blitz. Four siblings Peter, Susan, Edmund, and Lucy Pevensey are evacuated from their home in London to escape the German bombing raids. They are sent to live in a massive country house in the English countryside, owned by the mysterious Professor Diggory Kirk. The old mansion is enormous and filled with countless rooms, providing endless opportunities for exploration and adventure. On a rainy day when the children are playing hide and seek, the youngest sibling Lucy discovers a spare room containing nothing but a large antique wardrobe. Out of curiosity, she opens it and steps inside, pushing past the hanging fur coats. As she moves deeper into the wardrobe, she is amazed to find herself emerging into a snowy forest. Lucy has stumbled upon Narnia, a magical land perpetually trapped in winter. In this enchanted forest, Lucy encounters a faun named Mr. Tumnus, who carries an umbrella and packages. After initial hesitation, Tumnus invites Lucy to his cave for tea and plays her beautiful melodies on his flute. However, he soon breaks down in tears and confesses that he is in the service of the White Witch, the cruel ruler of Narnia who has condemned the land to eternal winter. Tumnus was supposed to kidnap any human he encountered and bring them to the witch, but he cannot bring himself to betray the kind-hearted Lucy. He helps her return to the wardrobe, and Lucy emerges back in the professor's house, finding that no time has passed at all. Lucy excitedly tells her siblings about Narnia, but they do not believe her, especially when they all check the wardrobe and find it to be perfectly ordinary. Edmund, the second youngest and perhaps the most troubled of the siblings, is particularly cruel in mocking Lucy's story. However, during another game of hide and seek, all four children end up going through the wardrobe together when they are trying to avoid the professor's stern housekeeper. They all emerge in the winter wonderland of Narnia, proving that Lucy was telling the truth all along. Peter and Susan immediately apologize to Lucy for not believing her. The children decide to seek out Mr. Tumnus, but when they arrive at his cave, they discover it has been ransacked and Tumnus has been arrested by the White Witch's secret police for treason, specifically for harboring a human child. The siblings encounter a talking beaver named Mr. Beaver, who explains the situation in Narnia. The land has been under the tyrannical rule of Jadis, the White Witch, for 100 years, during which it has always been winter but never Christmas. An ancient prophecy states that when 2 sons of Adam and 2 daughters of Eve sit on the 4 thrones at Cair Paravel, the White Witch's reign will end. The beaver also tells them about Aslan, the great lion and the true king of Narnia, who is on the move and gathering an army. Edmund, feeling resentful and alienated from his siblings, especially Peter, secretly sneaks away to the White Witch's castle. He had previously encountered the witch during an earlier solo visit to Narnia when she had tempted him with enchanted Turkish delight and promises of power. The witch had manipulated Edmund, promising to make him a prince and eventually king of Narnia if he brought his siblings to her. Edmund's betrayal puts all the children in grave danger. When the witch learns that all 4 humans are in Narnia, she becomes furious because the prophecy threatens her power. She holds Edmund captive and sets out with her army of wolves and other evil creatures to capture the other 3 children. Peter, Susan, and Lucy, guided by the beavers, undertake a perilous journey to the stone table to meet Aslan. Along the way, they witness signs that the witch's power is weakening as the snow begins to melt and spring starts to arrive, signaling Aslan's return. When they finally reach Aslan's camp, they meet the magnificent lion, who radiates power, wisdom, and compassion. Aslan promises to do everything he can to save Edmund. The witch arrives at Aslan's camp demanding Edmund's life, citing the deep magic from the dawn of time, which states that every traitor belongs to her and that for each betrayal, she is entitled to a kill. Aslan speaks privately with the witch and makes a deal to save Edmund's life, though the nature of the agreement remains secret. That night, Aslan sacrifices himself in Edmund's place at the stone table, allowing the witch and her followers to humiliate and kill him. Lucy and Susan, who secretly followed Aslan, witness his death and mourn beside his body through the night. However, as dawn breaks, the stone table cracks and Aslan is resurrected. He explains that the deeper magic from before the dawn of time states that when a willing victim who has committed no treachery is killed in a traitor's stead, death itself will be reversed. Aslan, along with Lucy and Susan, rushes to the witch's castle where he breathes life back into all the creatures she had turned to stone, building a massive army. Meanwhile, Peter leads the Narnian forces in an epic battle against the White Witch's army. Edmund redeems himself by destroying the witch's wand, preventing her from turning more creatures to stone, though he is gravely wounded in the process. Aslan arrives with reinforcements just in time, and the White Witch is finally defeated. After the battle, Lucy uses a magical cordial given to her by Father Christmas to heal Edmund and the other wounded. The 4 Pevensey children are crowned as kings and queens of Narnia at Cair Paravel: King Peter the Magnificent, Queen Susan the Gentle, King Edmund the Just, and Queen Lucy the Valiant. The movie then shows a montage of the children growing into adults and ruling Narnia wisely and well for many years. During a hunting expedition for a white stag, they rediscover the lamppost in the forest where Lucy first entered Narnia, and they stumble back through the wardrobe, suddenly becoming children again. They emerge to find that no time has passed in the real world. The professor, who overhears them talking about their adventure, hints that they will return to Narnia someday, saying that once a king or queen of Narnia, always a king or queen. The casting of the Chronicles of Narnia, The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe was crucial to the film's success, and the filmmakers conducted an extensive search to find the perfect actors to portray the Pevensey children. The main cast featured both established actors and talented newcomers who brought the beloved characters to life with remarkable performances. William Moseley portrayed Peter Pevensey, the oldest of the 4 siblings. Peter is the natural leader who must overcome his own doubts and fears to become the High King of Narnia. Moseley was 14 years old during filming and brought maturity and gravitas to the role, effectively portraying Peter's journey from a protective older brother to a courageous warrior and king. His performance captured both the character's initial reluctance to accept responsibility and his eventual growth into a confident leader. Anna Popplewell played Susan Pevensey, the second oldest child. Susan is practical, motherly, and often skeptical, serving as a voice of reason among the siblings. Popplewell was 16 during production and delivered a nuanced performance that showed Susan's protective nature toward her younger siblings while also depicting her own journey of learning to have faith and courage. Her archery skills in the film became iconic, and she trained extensively for the role. Skander Keynes took on the complex role of Edmund Pevensey, the troubled third child whose betrayal and redemption form a crucial part of the story. Keynes was only 13 years old during filming but managed to portray Edmund's journey from a spiteful, jealous boy to a repentant and brave king with impressive depth. His performance effectively conveyed Edmund's internal struggles and his ultimate transformation, making him one of the most compelling characters in the film. Georgie Henley was just 8 years old when she was cast as Lucy Pevensey, the youngest sibling and the first to discover Narnia. Henley's performance was widely praised for its innocence, wonder, and emotional honesty. Her natural charm and believability made Lucy the heart of the film. Interestingly, the scene where Lucy first enters Narnia and sees the lamppost was shot with Henley having no prior knowledge of the set design, so her genuine reaction of awe was captured on film. Tilda Swinton delivered a chilling and memorable performance as Jadis, the White Witch. Swinton brought an otherworldly quality to the character, portraying the witch as both terrifyingly cruel and eerily charismatic. Her costume design and makeup, combined with her commanding presence, created one of cinema's most memorable villains. Swinton fully embraced the character's evil nature while also conveying the witch's desperation to maintain power as her reign begins to crumble. James McAvoy appeared as Mr. Tumnus, the friendly faun who befriends Lucy. McAvoy brought warmth and vulnerability to the character, making Tumnus immediately lovable and sympathetic. The role required extensive makeup and prosthetics, including faun legs created through CGI, but McAvoy's expressive performance shone through. His chemistry with young Georgie Henley created one of the film's most touching relationships. Liam Neeson provided the voice of Aslan, the great lion and true king of Narnia. Though Aslan was a fully CGI character, Neeson's powerful and warm voice brought the character to life, imbuing him with authority, wisdom, and compassion. The filmmakers specifically chose Neeson because his voice had the gravitas needed for such an important character, while also conveying Aslan's gentleness and love. His vocal performance was crucial in making Aslan's sacrifice and resurrection emotionally powerful. Ray Winstone voiced Mr. Beaver, the loyal Narnian who helps the Pevensey children and explains the prophecy to them. Winstone brought humor and heart to the character, making Mr. Beaver both entertaining and trustworthy. His working-class British accent gave the character a down-to-earth quality that made him instantly relatable. Dawn French voiced Mrs. Beaver, providing the character with warmth, practicality, and maternal care. French's performance complemented Winstone's perfectly, creating a believable married couple dynamic that added both humor and heart to the film. Jim Broadbent appeared as Professor Diggory Kirk, the owner of the house where the children are evacuated. Though his role was relatively small, Broadbent brought a knowing twinkle to the character, hinting at the professor's own connection to Narnia. His final scene with the children suggested there was much more to his story, setting up potential future films. Kieran Shaw performed as Janarbrick, the White Witch's cruel dwarf henchman, combining physical performance with menacing presence. James Cosmo appeared as Father Christmas in a memorable scene that marks the turning point where the witch's power begins to wane and Christmas finally comes to Narnia after 100 years of winter. The film also featured numerous other talented actors in smaller roles and voice performances for the various talking animals and mythical creatures that populate Narnia, including Rupert Everett as the voice of the fox and Patrick Cake as Aureus, the centaur general who serves Aslan. The ensemble cast worked together to create a rich, believable world where talking animals and mythical creatures existed alongside humans in an epic fantasy adventure. Release date and box office performance: The Chronicles of Narnia, The Lion, the Witch and the Wardrobe had its world premiere in London on December 7, 2005, with a spectacular red carpet event that featured the cast, filmmakers, and numerous celebrities. The film then opened in theaters across the United States and several other countries on December 9, 2005, strategically positioned for the lucrative holiday season. The release date was carefully chosen to capitalize on the Christmas period when families would be looking for quality entertainment to enjoy together, and the film's themes of redemption, sacrifice, and hope resonated perfectly with the holiday spirit. The theatrical release was massive in scale, opening in over 3,600 theaters in North America alone. Disney and Walden Media mounted an extensive marketing campaign that included numerous television spots, promotional tie-ins with various companies, and a strong presence at retail locations with merchandise ranging from action figures to books to video games. The marketing emphasized both the film's spectacular action and visual effects, as well as its heartwarming family-friendly story. The film opened to impressive box office numbers, earning approximately $65.5 million during its opening weekend in North America, which was considered a strong debut for a December release. The movie demonstrated remarkable staying power throughout the holiday season, benefiting from positive word-of-mouth and repeat viewings. It remained in theaters for several months, continuing to draw audiences well into early 2006. Internationally, the film was released in waves throughout December 2005 and early 2006, opening in the United Kingdom, Australia, Germany, France, and numerous other territories. The global appeal of the Narnia story, combined with the film's spectacular production values and universal themes, helped it succeed in virtually every market. The film performed particularly well in English-speaking countries but also found substantial audiences in Europe, Latin America, and Asia. By the end of its theatrical run, The Chronicles of Narnia, The Lion, The Witch and the Wardrobe had earned approximately $291.7 million in North America and an additional $453.6 million in international markets, bringing its worldwide total to over $745 million. This made it the third highest-grossing film of 2005, behind only Harry Potter and the Goblet of Fire and Star Wars Episode III, Revenge of the Sith. The film's success exceeded Disney and Walden Media's expectations and immediately greenlit the production of the sequel. The home video release came in April 2006 when the film was released on DVD in multiple editions, including a standard single-disc version, a 2-disc extended edition with additional footage and behind-the-scenes content, and later a 3-disc collector's edition. The DVD sales were phenomenal, with the film becoming one of the best-selling home video releases of 2006. A Blu-ray edition followed when that format became more widely adopted, offering the film in high definition with additional special features. Trailer and marketing campaign. The marketing campaign for The Chronicles of Narnia, The Lion, The Witch and the Wardrobe was one of the most comprehensive and strategic campaigns mounted for a fantasy film at that time. Disney and Walden Media understood that they needed to appeal to multiple demographics: families with children, fans of the original books, and general audiences looking for an epic fantasy adventure to rival the Lord of the Rings films. The first teaser trailer was released in summer 2005, approximately 6 months before the film's theatrical release. This initial trailer focused on establishing the wonder and magic of Narnia, featuring the iconic shot of Lucy stepping through the wardrobe and emerging into the snowy forest. The teaser showcased the film's impressive visual effects, including glimpses of Aslan and the various mythical creatures, while using stirring orchestral music to create a sense of epic adventure. The tagline, "The Journey Begins," emphasized that this was intended to be the first of multiple films. A full theatrical trailer followed in fall 2005, providing more plot details and character development. This longer trailer showed the relationship between the four Pevensey children, introduced the threat of the White Witch, and featured more extensive footage of the climactic battle. The trailer carefully balanced showing enough to generate excitement, while preserving key plot points and surprises. It emphasized the film's themes of courage, family, and good versus evil, positioning it as an inspiring adventure suitable for the entire family. Additional TV spots targeted different audiences throughout the campaign. Some spots emphasized the action and spectacle for younger viewers and fantasy fans, while others focused on the story's emotional depth and the performances of the young actors to appeal to parents and older audiences. The marketing also heavily promoted the involvement of the Jim Henson Company's Creature Shop in creating many of the practical creature effects, appealing to audiences who appreciated traditional filmmaking craftsmanship alongside modern CGI. The studio partnered with numerous companies for promotional tie-ins. McDonald's featured Happy Meal toys based on the characters, while various other retailers offered exclusive merchandise. The book publishing industry also experienced a significant boost as the original novels by C.S. Lewis saw renewed interest and increased sales in the months leading up to the film's release. Special editions of the books featuring movie tie-in covers were published to capitalize on the film's marketing. Disney also created an immersive online presence with an official website that allowed fans to explore Narnia, learn about the characters, play games, and access exclusive content. The marketing campaign utilized emerging social media platforms of the time to generate buzz and engage with younger audiences. Behind-the-scenes featurettes were released online and shown on television, giving audiences a look at how the filmmakers brought Narnia to life and building anticipation for the film. The musical score by Harry Gregson Williams became an integral part of the marketing, with the epic orchestral themes featured prominently in all trailers and TV spots. Additionally, contemporary Christian rock bands like Jars of Clay contributed songs that were used in promotional materials, helping to appeal to Christian audiences who were familiar with the book's allegorical religious themes. Critical reception and cultural impact. The Chronicles of Narnia, The Lion, The Witch, and the Wardrobe received generally positive reviews from critics upon its release. Review aggregator websites showed that the majority of critics praised the film for its faithful adaptation of the beloved source material, its impressive visual effects, and the performances of the young lead actors. Many reviewers specifically highlighted Georgie Henley's performance as Lucy as a standout, praising her natural charm and the genuine wonder she brought to the role. Critics particularly appreciated how director Andrew Adamson managed to balance the fantastical elements with the emotional core of the story. The film was praised for maintaining the book's themes of courage, redemption, and sacrifice while making them accessible to modern audiences. Tilda Swinton's performance as the White Witch received widespread acclaim, with many critics noting that she brought a perfect combination of menace and charisma to the role. The visual effects were a major talking point in reviews. The creation of Aslan through CGI was considered a technical achievement, with critics noting that the character felt real and emotionally present despite being entirely computer-generated. The combination of practical effects, animatronics, and CGI to create the various creatures of Narnia was seen as successful, creating a believable fantasy world. The cinematography, which showcased New Zealand's stunning landscapes as the backdrop for Narnia, was also frequently praised for its beauty and scope. Some critics felt that the film's pacing was occasionally uneven, particularly in the first act before the children enter Narnia. Others noted that while the battle sequences were impressive, the film didn't quite reach the epic scale of the Lord of the Rings trilogy, which had set a high bar for fantasy cinema just a few years earlier. However, most agreed that these were minor issues in an otherwise highly entertaining and well-crafted family film. The film resonated strongly with Christian audiences, who appreciated the preservation of C.S. Lewis's allegorical elements. Aslan's sacrifice and resurrection were seen as clear parallels to Christian theology, and many religious communities embraced the film as quality family entertainment with positive moral messages. Church groups organized outings to see the film, and it became a topic of discussion in religious communities about the intersection of faith and popular culture. From an awards perspective, the film received recognition from various organizations. It was nominated for 3 Academy Awards including Best Sound Mixing, Best Sound Editing, and won the Oscar for Best Makeup, recognizing the incredible work done to transform actors like James McAvoy into fantastical creatures. The film also received nominations from the BAFTA Awards and won several technical awards from various film organizations. The success of this first Narnia film led to 2 sequels, Prince Caspian in 2008 and The Voyage of the Dawn Treader in 2010. While these sequels had varying degrees of commercial success, they continued the story of the Pevensey children and expanded the Narnia cinematic universe. The franchise introduced a new generation to C.S. Lewis's classic stories and sparked renewed interest in the original book series. The film's legacy extends beyond just its box office success and critical reception. It demonstrated that there was a substantial audience for high-quality family fantasy films that treated younger viewers with intelligence and respect. The movie's success encouraged studios to invest in other young adult and children's fantasy adaptations. It also showed that films could balance spectacular visual effects with strong emotional storytelling and maintain appeal across multiple age groups. For many viewers, particularly younger audiences, this film served as their introduction to the world of Narnia and potentially sparked lifelong love of fantasy literature and cinema. The performances of the 4 young leads launched their acting careers, with each going on to other projects, though they remained closely associated with their Narnia roles. The film continues to be rediscovered by new generations through home video, streaming platforms, and television broadcasts, maintaining its status as a beloved family classic. The movie also had a significant impact on the location tourism industry in New Zealand, where much of the filming took place. Similar to the effect of the Lord of the Rings films, the Chronicles of Narnia brought attention to New Zealand's diverse landscapes and helped establish the country as a premier location for fantasy film production. The beginning in London. The story opens in London during the height of World War II in 1940. The city is under constant threat from German bombing raids during the Blitz. We are introduced to the Pevensey family mother and 4 children living in their London home. One night, air raid sirens begin wailing, and the family rushes to take shelter. The mother quickly gathers Peter, Susan, Edmund, and Lucy, hurrying them towards safety as explosions rock the neighborhood around them. The father is away fighting in the war, leaving Mrs. Pevensey to care for the children alone during these dangerous times. During this particular raid, a German bomber flies overhead and drops explosives near their street. The family takes cover, and we see the fear and chaos of wartime London through the eyes of the children. This harrowing experience demonstrates the very real danger they face, establishing why their mother makes the difficult decision to send them away. Following this terrifying night, Mrs. Pevensey decides that London has become too dangerous for her children. She makes arrangements to evacuate them to the countryside under a government program designed to protect children from the bombing. The scene at the train station is emotional and chaotic, with hundreds of children being sent away from their families. Mrs. Pevensey says goodbye to each of her children, trying to remain strong while clearly heartbroken about the separation. She gives final instructions to Peter, the eldest, to watch over his siblings and keep them safe. The children board a train filled with other evacuees, carrying small suitcases with their belongings. As the train pulls away from the station, Lucy watches through the window as her mother becomes smaller and smaller in the distance. The journey takes them far from the bombed-out city, through the English countryside to a remote area where they will be staying with a host family. Arrival at the professor's house. The children arrive at an enormous country manor house owned by Professor Diggory-Kirk. The mansion is isolated, surrounded by vast grounds and forests. It is an imposing Victorian Gothic structure with countless rooms, long corridors, and an air of mystery. The professor himself is an elderly eccentric gentleman who greets them with kind but somewhat distant politeness. His stern housekeeper, Mrs. Macready, shows considerably less warmth, immediately establishing strict rules about where the children can and cannot go in the house. Mrs. Macready makes it abundantly clear that the children are to stay out of her way and not cause any trouble. She gives them a brief tour, pointing out certain rooms that are absolutely off-limits. The children are intimidated by both the massive size of the house and the housekeeper's severe demeanor. The house feels cold and unwelcoming compared to their cozy London home, and the children clearly miss their mother and their normal life. The first few days are difficult for all of them as they adjust to their new circumstances. Peter tries to maintain authority as the oldest, attempting to keep everyone's spirits up and enforce some sense of normalcy. Susan takes on a maternal role, trying to care for her younger siblings. Edmund, however, becomes increasingly sullen and resentful. He is angry about being sent away, misses his father, and resents Peter's authority. This creates tension between the brothers that will have significant consequences later. Lucy, the youngest at around 8 years old, is naturally curious and tries to make the best of the situation despite missing home. She explores the house with wonder, finding beauty in the old paintings, the antique furniture, and the mysterious atmosphere. The age gap and personality differences between the siblings become more pronounced in this new environment, with Peter and Susan often siding together as the responsible older children, while Edmund's bitterness isolates him. Lucy's first journey to Narnia on a rainy day when outdoor activities are impossible. The children decide to play hide and seek to pass the time. This simple game will change their lives forever. Edmund is chosen as the seeker, and the others scatter throughout the mansion's many rooms to hide. Lucy runs through corridors, opening doors to find a suitable hiding spot. She enters a spare room that contains very little furniture, just a large, ornate wardrobe standing against one wall. The wardrobe is an impressive piece of antique furniture, made of heavy dark wood with intricate carvings. Lucy decides this would be an excellent place to hide. She opens the wardrobe doors and climbs inside among the hanging fur coats. The coats are old-fashioned, heavy, and smell of mothballs. As she pushes deeper into the wardrobe to hide more completely, she expects to feel the back panel any moment, but the back never comes. Lucy keeps moving forward, and the fur coats seem to continue indefinitely. Then something changes. The coats begin to feel less like fur and more like pine branches. She feels something cold and soft under her feet. Snow. Suddenly Lucy stumbles forward out of darkness and finds herself standing in a forest in the middle of winter. Snow covers everything, and a Victorian lamppost stands impossibly in the middle of this wilderness, casting warm light across the snowy landscape. Lucy is amazed but not frightened. The wonder of this magical place overcomes any fear she might feel. She begins walking through the forest, snowflakes falling gently around her, crunching through the snow with each step. She notices that she is still wearing the coat she grabbed from the wardrobe, which keeps her warm despite the cold climate. Soon she encounters someone walking through the woods toward her, a fawn. The creature has the upper body of a man but the legs, tail, and horns of a goat. He carries an umbrella in one hand and several brown paper packages in the other. The fawn is named Mr. Tumnus, and he is initially startled and somewhat nervous upon seeing Lucy. He has clearly never seen a human child before and is both curious and alarmed by her presence. After his initial shock, Tumnus becomes quite friendly and charming. He introduces himself formally and asks Lucy many questions about where she came from. When Lucy explains she came through a wardrobe, Tumnus finds this fascinating. He invites her back to his cave for tea and sardines, and Lucy, being a polite and trusting child, accepts the invitation. She is excited to make a new friend in this strange land. Tea with Mr. Tumnus. Tumnus's cave is cozy and warm, a welcome relief from the cold forest. It is filled with books lining the shelves, and a cheerful fire burns in the fireplace. The cave feels like a comfortable bachelor's home, neat and well organized. Tumnus prepares tea and toast and serves Lucy with great hospitality. He asks her many questions about the human world, about sons of Adam and daughters of Eve, which is how he refers to humans. Lucy finds his terminology strange but charming. To entertain his guests, Tumnus takes out a wooden flute and begins to play the most beautiful, haunting melodies Lucy has ever heard. The music seems to have an almost magical quality, making Lucy feel sleepy and dreamy. As she listens, Tumnus tells her stories about Narnia in better times, about midnight dances with dryads and nymphs, about summer days that seem like distant memories in this land of eternal winter. But suddenly Tumnus's demeanor changes entirely. He stops playing and bursts into tears, sobbing uncontrollably. Lucy is alarmed and confused, asking what is wrong. Through his tears, Tumnus makes a confession that fills him with shame. He admits that he is in the service of the White Witch, the cruel ruler who has placed Narnia under a terrible curse of endless winter. The witch has ordered all Narnians to capture any humans they encounter and bring them to her. Tumnus reveals that the pleasant tea and the beautiful music were all part of a plan to lull Lucy to sleep so he could kidnap her and deliver her to the White Witch. He is overcome with guilt because Lucy has been so kind and trusting, and he cannot bring himself to betray her. He calls himself a terrible fawn and says he does not deserve her friendship. Lucy, displaying remarkable compassion for a child, comforts him and says she is sure he would not do such an awful thing. Tumnus decides he must help Lucy return home immediately, before the White Witch discovers what he has done. He explains that the witch has spies everywhere. The trees themselves might be listening, birds might report what they see, even the stones might betray them. He takes Lucy back through the forest to the lamppost, pointing her in the direction of the wardrobe. They say a hurried goodbye, with Lucy promising to come back and visit him again if she can. Lucy pushes back through the snowy forest, finds the wardrobe, and emerges back into the spare room. To her surprise, she discovers that no time has passed at all in the real world. When she excitedly finds her siblings to tell them about her adventure, they think she is making up stories. Edmund is particularly cruel in his mockery, suggesting Lucy is lying for attention. Even Peter and Susan, while gentler, clearly do not believe her tale. This rejection deeply hurts Lucy, who knows she is telling the truth. Edmund's treachery begins not long after Lucy's first journey. The children are once again in the spare room when Edmund decides to investigate the wardrobe himself. Perhaps he is curious despite his skepticism, or perhaps he wants to prove Lucy wrong. He opens the wardrobe, climbs inside, and much to his shock, he too finds himself in the snowy forest of Narnia. Unlike Lucy, Edmund's reaction is not wonder but annoyance and confusion. As Edmund wanders through the forest, Cold and somewhat frightened despite his pride, he encounters someone far more dangerous than a friendly fawn. A sleigh approaches through the trees, pulled by white reindeer and driven by a cruel-looking dwarf. In the sleigh sits a tall, beautiful woman dressed entirely in white with a crown on her head. This is Jadis, the White Witch, the self-proclaimed Queen of Narnia. The witch is imperious and commanding, immediately demanding to know who Edmund is and what he is doing in her kingdom. Edmund, intimidated but trying to act brave, tells her he is Edmund and that he came through a wardrobe. The witch's demeanor changes when she realizes he is human, a son of Adam. She becomes superficially pleasant, though there is something cold and dangerous beneath her charm. The witch invites Edmund into her sleigh and wraps him in her fur coat to warm him. She questions him skillfully, drawing out information about his siblings. When Edmund mentions he has 2 sisters and a brother, the witch becomes very interested, though she hides her concern. She produces a flask and a copper bowl and asks Edmund what he would most like to eat and drink. Edmund, being a child with a sweet tooth, says he would like Turkish delight. The witch pours a single drop from the flask into the bowl, and it fills with the most delicious Turkish delight Edmund has ever tasted. The candy is enchanted, creating an insatiable craving for more. As Edmund eats piece after piece, unable to stop himself, the witch continues her questioning. She learns that Edmund's siblings are all in Narnia with him, though Edmund does not realize he has revealed this crucial information. The enchanted Turkish delight does more than taste delicious, it creates a magical addiction and makes Edmund susceptible to the witch's manipulation. She plays on his resentments and insecurities, particularly his jealousy of Peter. The witch suggests that Edmund would make a wonderful prince and eventually king. She promises him that if he brings his brother and sisters to her house, she will give him more Turkish delight and make him a prince who rules over his siblings. Edmund, his judgment clouded by the enchanted candy and his own resentment, agrees. The witch gives him detailed directions to her house, a castle far to the north. She makes him promise to bring the others there, spinning a story about how she would love to meet the rest of his family and make them all princes and princesses. Edmund, despite some small voice of doubt in his mind, agrees to this plan. The witch then dismisses him, and Edmund makes his way back to the lamppost and through the wardrobe. When Edmund emerges back into the spare room, he finds Lucy there, returning from another visit to Narnia. Lucy is overjoyed that Edmund has been to Narnia too and that he can now confirm her story to Peter and Susan. But when they find the older siblings, Edmund does something cruel and inexplicable. He lies. He tells Peter and Susan that Lucy is just playing make-believe and that he was only pretending to go along with her game. This betrayal devastates Lucy, and even Peter and Susan are uncomfortable with Edmund's mean-spirited behavior. Edmund's treachery begins not long after Lucy's first journey. The children are once again in the spare room when Edmund decides to investigate the wardrobe himself. Perhaps he is curious despite his skepticism, or perhaps he wants to prove Lucy wrong. He opens the wardrobe, climbs inside, and much to his shock, he too finds himself in the snowy forest of Narnia. Unlike Lucy, Edmund's reaction is not wonder but annoyance and confusion. As Edmund wanders through the forest, cold and somewhat frightened despite his pride, he encounters someone far more dangerous than a friendly fawn. A sleigh approaches through the trees, pulled by white reindeer and driven by a cruel-looking dwarf. In the sleigh sits a tall, beautiful woman dressed entirely in white with a crown on her head. This is Jadis, the White Witch, the self-proclaimed Queen of Narnia. The witch is imperious and commanding, immediately demanding to know who Edmund is and what he is doing in her kingdom. Edmund, intimidated but trying to act brave, tells her he is Edmund and that he came through a wardrobe. The witch's demeanor changes when she realizes he is human, a son of Adam. She becomes superficially pleasant, though there is something cold and dangerous beneath her charm. The witch invites Edmund into her sleigh and wraps him in her fur coat to warm him. She questions him skillfully, drawing out information about his siblings. When Edmund mentions he has 2 sisters and a brother, the witch becomes very interested, though she hides her concern. She produces a flask and a copper bowl and asks Edmund what he would most like to eat and drink. Edmund, being a child with a sweet tooth, says he would like Turkish delight. The witch pours a single drop from the flask into the bowl, and it fills with the most delicious Turkish delight Edmund has ever tasted. The candy is enchanted, creating an insatiable craving for more. As Edmund eats piece after piece, unable to stop himself, the witch continues her questioning. She learns that Edmund's siblings are all in Narnia with him, though Edmund does not realize he has revealed this crucial information. The enchanted Turkish delight does more than taste delicious, it creates a magical addiction and makes Edmund susceptible to the witch's manipulation. She plays on his resentments and insecurities, particularly his jealousy of Peter. The witch suggests that Edmund would make a wonderful prince and eventually king. She promises him that if he brings his brother and sisters to her house, she will give him more Turkish delight and make him a prince who rules over his siblings. Edmund, his judgment clouded by the enchanted candy and his own resentment, agrees. The witch gives him detailed directions to her house, a castle far to the north. She makes him promise to bring the others there, spinning a story about how she would love to meet the rest of his family and make them all princes and princesses. Edmund, despite some small voice of doubt in his mind, agrees to this plan. The witch then dismisses him, and Edmund makes his way back to the lamppost and through the wardrobe. When Edmund emerges back into the spare room, he finds Lucy there, returning from another visit to Narnia. Lucy is overjoyed that Edmund has been to Narnia too and that he can now confirm her story to Peter and Susan. But when they find the older siblings, Edmund does something cruel and inexplicable. He lies. He tells Peter and Susan that Lucy is just playing make-believe and that he was only pretending to go along with her game. This betrayal devastates Lucy, and even Peter and Susan are uncomfortable with Edmund's mean-spirited behavior. All 4 children enter Narnia. The situation comes to a head during another rainy day. Mrs. McCready is giving a tour to some visitors, and her stern voice can be heard echoing through the corridors as she approaches with the touring party. The children are not supposed to be in this particular section of the house, and in a panic to avoid being caught where they should not be, all 4 of them rush into the spare room and pile into the wardrobe to hide. As they push deeper into the wardrobe to avoid detection, they all tumble out into the snowy forest of Narnia. Peter and Susan are absolutely astonished to find themselves in this impossible place. Edmund maintains his facade briefly but cannot sustain the lie in the face of obvious reality. Lucy's vindication is immediate. She was telling the truth all along. Peter and Susan immediately apologize to Lucy for not believing her, and even Edmund is forced to admit he lied, though he offers weak excuses for his behavior. Now that they are all in Narnia together, Lucy suggests they should visit Mr. Tumnus to ask for his advice. The group makes their way through the forest to the Fawn's Cave, but what they find there is devastating. The door has been broken down, the cozy interior has been ransacked and destroyed. Books are torn and scattered, furniture is smashed, and the once warm home is cold and desolate. Most chilling of all is an official notice from the White Witch's secret police, declaring that Tumnus has been arrested for high treason against the Queen. His crime is listed as fraternizing with humans and failing to report their presence to the authorities. Lucy is heartbroken, blaming herself for Tumnus's arrest. Peter tries to comfort her while also feeling the weight of responsibility. Susan pragmatically suggests they should return home immediately. This is clearly a dangerous place, and they have no business getting involved in whatever conflict exists here. But Peter argues that they cannot simply abandon Tumnus to his fate, especially since he was arrested because he protected Lucy. A debate ensues, with Susan advocating for safety and Peter insisting they have a moral obligation to help. While they are arguing, they hear a strange sound. A robin is chirping insistently at them, seemingly trying to get their attention. Lucy suggests the bird wants them to follow it, which leads to another debate. Susan questions whether they can trust a robin, to which Lucy points out that in normal circumstances, robins are quite good birds. They decide to follow the robin through the forest, though Edmund lags behind, sullen and conflicted, knowing this journey is taking them in the opposite direction from the White Witch's house where he had promised to bring them. The robin leads them deeper into the forest until they hear someone approaching. They hide behind a large tree, and they spot a beaver working near the partially frozen river. The beaver looks around cautiously, then produces a white handkerchief, the same handkerchief Lucy had given to Tumnus. The beaver introduces himself as Mr. Beaver and explains that Tumnus, before his arrest, had asked the beaver to watch for the children and help them if they ever came looking for him. Mr. Beaver tells them it is not safe to talk openly in the forest. The trees have ears, literally in some cases, as some trees are on the side of the White Witch. He urges them to come back to his home where they can speak freely and make plans. Edmund, growing increasingly nervous and conflicted, asks whether they should all go together or if perhaps some should stay behind. The others find this suggestion strange and insist they should stick together. Edmund's behavior is becoming noticeably odd, though the others have not yet understood why. The beaver's dam and the prophecy. Mr. Beaver leads them through the forest to his home, which is a remarkable dam he has built across a river. The dam is an impressive structure of logs, mud, and stones, with a cozy living space inside. Mrs. Beaver greets them warmly, immediately bustling about to prepare a meal for the hungry children. The home is simple but comfortable, filled with the pleasant smells of cooking fish and the warmth of a fire. As they eat dinner, Mr. Beaver begins to explain the situation in Narnia. He tells them about the White Witch, whose full name is Jadis. She has ruled Narnia as a tyrant for 100 years, maintaining an enchantment that keeps the land in perpetual winter. But, as Mr. Beaver emphasizes with significance, it is always winter but never Christmas. The witch's magic prevents the joy and celebration of Christmas from ever coming to Narnia, keeping the land in a state of cold, dark oppression. Mr. Beaver then reveals something remarkable. There is an ancient prophecy about the witch's downfall. The prophecy states that when 2 sons of Adam and 2 daughters of Eve sit on the 4 thrones at Cair Paravel, an ancient castle by the sea, the White Witch's reign will end and Narnia will be restored to its former glory. The witch knows about this prophecy and lives in fear of it, which is why she has ordered all humans to be brought to her immediately upon discovery. This is why Tumnus was arrested. His crime was not just talking to Lucy, but failing to deliver her to the witch as commanded. The witch would have turned Lucy to stone, as she does with all her enemies, adding her to the horrible collection of statues in the witch's castle courtyard. Mr. Beaver explains that Tumnus is likely already turned to stone himself as punishment for his disobedience. But there is hope, Mr. Beaver continues. Aslan is on the move. When the children ask who Aslan is, Mr. Beaver's entire demeanor changes to one of reverence and awe. Aslan, he explains, is the true king of Narnia, a great lion who has been absent from the land for many years. But Aslan is returning, and he has already been seen at the stone table, gathering an army of loyal Narnians who oppose the witch's rule. The mention of Aslan's name has a profound effect on each of the children, though they cannot explain why. Peter feels brave and adventurous. Susan feels as though some delightful strain of music has just floated by. Lucy feels the way one does at the beginning of summer. But Edmund feels a sense of mysterious horror. Mr. Beaver adds ominously that when Aslan arrives, wrong will be righted, the witch's power will be broken, and her enchantment will end. Mrs. Beaver mentions casually that when Aslan shakes his mane, spring will come again to Narnia. The children are filled with questions, but Mr. Beaver warns that they must leave for the stone table at dawn to meet Aslan. It is a journey of several days, and the sooner they start, the better. Edmund, listening to all of this with growing dread, realizes that his deal with the White Witch has put everyone in terrible danger. Edmund's betrayal that night, as the others sleep peacefully in the warm dam, Edmund lies awake wrestling with his conscience. He tells himself that the White Witch is not really evil, that she is the rightful queen of Narnia, and that this Aslan might be the real villain. He convinces himself that he should go to the witch's house to warn her about these rebels plotting against her. Deep down, he also craves more of the enchanted Turkish delight, and wants the power and status the witch promised him. In the middle of the night, Edmund quietly gets up and sneaks out of the dam. The night is dark and cold, and the forest is frightening when one is alone, but Edmund is driven by his addiction, his pride, and his resentment. He makes his way through the snow, following the directions the witch had given him to her house. The journey is longer and harder than he expected, and he begins to have second thoughts. But his pride will not let him turn back. As Edmund travels, he begins to notice changes in the forest. The snow seems less deep in some places, and he occasionally sees signs of thawing dripping water, patches of brown earth showing through the white. He does not understand the significance of these changes, but they are signs that Aslan's return is already weakening the witch's hold on Narnia. When Edmund finally reaches the witch's castle, it is a terrifying sight. The castle is made of dark stone and ice, imposing and cold. But what makes it truly horrifying is the courtyard, which is filled with statues, dozens, perhaps hundreds of them. These are not ordinary statues but the petrified remains of the witch's enemies, Narnians who opposed her, turned to stone by her wand. There are centaurs frozen mid-gallop, fawns caught in expressions of terror, noble lions turned to lifeless rock, even a giant partially visible above the courtyard walls. Edmund, thoroughly frightened now but committed to his course, enters the castle and finds the witch. But the reception he receives is far different from their first meeting. The witch is furious rather than pleasant. She has learned through her spies that all 4 children are in Narnia and that Edmund has failed to bring them to her as promised. Edmund stammers out that he tried, that he came as quickly as he could, but the witch is not interested in excuses. The witch demands to know everything. Where are the other 3 children? Where are they going? What are their plans? Edmund, frightened and realizing too late what a terrible mistake he has made, tells her that they are at the Beaver's Dam and that they plan to meet Aslan at the stone table. The witch's reaction to hearing Aslan's name is one of rage and fear. She immediately summons her dwarf servant Janarbrick and orders her sleigh prepared. The witch chains Edmund and forces him into the sleigh, treating him as a prisoner rather than the prince she had promised he would become. As they travel, Edmund realizes the full extent of his foolishness and the danger he has brought upon his siblings. The witch drives the reindeer hard, pushing through the night to catch the others before they can reach Aslan. Edmund is cold, frightened, and filled with regret, but there is nothing he can do now but hope that somehow his brother and sisters escape. The journey to Aslan. Meanwhile, back at the dam, the others awake to discover Edmund is missing. At first, they think perhaps he has just stepped outside, but when he does not return and they find his tracks leading away from the dam, they realize with horror what has happened. Mr. Beaver immediately understands Edmund has gone to the White Witch. Peter is furious with himself for not realizing Edmund was planning something. Susan asks whether they should go after him, but Mr. Beaver explains grimly that Edmund is now under the witch's power, and pursuing him would only result in all of them being captured. Their only hope is to reach Aslan as quickly as possible. Aslan might be able to save Edmund, though Mr. Beaver warns that there are ancient laws and deep magic that even Aslan must obey. They pack quickly, gathering supplies for the journey. Mrs. Beaver insists on bringing practical items like Mrs. Beaver's sewing machine, which leads to some comic relief as Mr. Beaver protests they do not have time for such things, and Mrs. Beaver insists they will need these items once they are settled wherever they are going. As they travel through the forest, the signs of change become more obvious. The snow is definitely melting in places, and they begin to see patches of green grass and early flowers pushing through. Mr. Beaver is amazed, exclaiming that the witch's power is crumbling faster than anyone expected. The eternal winter is ending because Aslan is near. They travel through the day and into the night, exhausted but determined. At one point, they hear the sound of bells in the distance. The witch's sleigh is pursuing them. They hide off the path, terrified that they will be caught. The sleigh passes very close to their hiding spot, and through the trees, they can see Edmund chained in the back, looking miserable and frightened. Peter has to restrain himself from rushing out to save his brother, knowing it would be futile. But then something wonderful happens. They encounter Father Christmas riding through the forest on his own sleigh. His appearance in Narnia for the first time in 100 years is a sign that the witch's enchantment is truly breaking. Christmas has finally come to Narnia. Father Christmas is jolly and kind but also dignified and noble, not just a figure of fun but someone who brings real hope. Father Christmas gives each of the children special gifts that will aid them in the trials ahead. To Peter, he gives a sword and shield, telling him that these are tools for a warrior and that battles are soon coming. The sword is magnificent, with a hilt shaped like a lion, and the shield bears the image of the great red lion of Narnia. To Susan, he gives a bow with a quiver of arrows that never miss their target, and an ivory horn that, when blown, will bring help from wherever it can be found. To Lucy, he gives a small crystal bottle containing a magical cordial made from the juice of the fire flowers that grow on the sun itself. Just a few drops of this potion can heal any wound or cure any sickness. He also gives her a small dagger, though he tells her it is only for use in the most desperate circumstances and that she must not use it in battle because battles are ugly when women fight. Father Christmas also leaves Mrs. Beaver a new sewing machine to replace the one she had to leave behind and gives Mr. Beaver his dam completely repaired and improved when he returns home. His appearance is brief but fills them all with renewed hope and strength. The very fact that Christmas has come to Narnia means that the witch's power is fading and Aslan's is growing. They continue their journey, and the landscape continues to transform around them. The snow melts more rapidly, revealing green hills and valleys. Flowers bloom in an accelerated spring, trees burst into leaf, and the frozen river begins to thaw and flow. The change from winter to spring happens so quickly it is almost magical, which of course it is. The witch's winter enchantment is being undone by Aslan's presence in Narnia. However, the thawing creates new dangers. The river they must cross is swelling with snow melt, and the ice bridge they had planned to use is breaking apart. They must make a dangerous crossing on ice floes that could give way at any moment. The journey becomes more perilous even as the landscape becomes more beautiful. They persevere through these challenges, driven by the knowledge that Aslan waits ahead and that Edmund's life depends on their reaching him. Finally, after days of difficult travel, they see it in the distance, a large pavilion on a hilltop, surrounded by a gathered army of creatures. Flags flutter in the warm spring breeze, and the sound of activity fills the air. They have reached Aslan's camp at the stone table. Meeting Aslan as Peter, Susan, and Lucy approach the camp, they are awed by what they see. The army gathered there includes creatures they had only imagined in fairy tales: centaurs with noble bearing and powerful weapons, fauns like Mr. Tumnus, dwarfs of various kinds, talking animals of every description, unicorns, eagles, and many others. All of them are preparing for war against the White Witch. The camp is organized and purposeful, with different creatures performing different roles. Some are training for combat, others are preparing supplies, and still others stand as sentries watching for any sign of the enemy. At the center of the camp is a magnificent pavilion, larger and more splendid than all the others, decorated with the red lion of Narnia. As the children approach with the beavers, the creatures notice them and word spreads quickly: the sons of Adam and daughters of Eve have arrived, the ones from the prophecy. The camp erupts with excitement and celebration. Creatures line up to see them, bowing respectfully. For the children, who are still just kids from London, this reception is overwhelming and humbling. They are escorted to the great pavilion, and there they meet Aslan for the first time. The experience is impossible to fully describe. Aslan is an enormous lion, larger and more magnificent than any lion from our world could ever be. His mane is thick and golden, his eyes are wise and penetrating, and his very presence radiates power, authority, wisdom, and an overwhelming goodness. Looking at Aslan, the children feel many things at once: awe, reverence, a touch of fear, but also warmth and love and an inexplicable sense of rightness. When Aslan speaks, his voice is deep and powerful yet also gentle. He greets each child by name, which somehow does not surprise them even though they have never met him before. In Aslan's presence, Lucy feels brave enough to ask about Edmund immediately. She explains that Edmund has gone to the White Witch and begs Aslan to help him. Aslan's expression becomes grave, and he assures her that he will do everything he can, though he does not promise what that will entail. That night, Susan and Lucy cannot sleep and step outside the tent they have been given. They see Aslan leaving the camp alone, looking troubled and sad in a way that frightens them. They follow him at a distance, unsure if they should but feeling compelled to. Aslan walks through the camp and out into the hills, and the sisters follow, trying to remain unseen. But Aslan knows they are following. Without turning around, he tells them they may walk with him if they wish, though they must promise to leave him when he asks them to. The girls agree, grateful not to be sent away. They walk beside the great lion in the moonlight, and Aslan's sadness is palpable. He seems to be carrying a tremendous burden, though he does not explain what it is. Finally, Aslan asks the girls to leave him and to stay hidden. They obey, finding a place to watch from behind some rocks. What happens next breaks their hearts. The White Witch emerges from the darkness with a company of her most evil followers: wolves, hags, spirits of evil, ogres, and the cruel dwarf Janarbrick. Edmund is with them, bound and terrified. The witch approaches Aslan with arrogance and cruelty, demanding Edmund's life. She cites the deep magic from the dawn of time, ancient laws that were written on the stone table and on the very pillars that support the world. According to this deep magic, every traitor belongs to the witch, and for every betrayal, she is entitled to a kill. Edmund betrayed his siblings for candy and false promises, making him a traitor. By the laws of the deep magic, his life belongs to her. Aslan speaks privately with the witch, and whatever is said during this private conversation, it results in an agreement. The witch relinquishes her claim on Edmund and departs, though her expression is one of cruel triumph rather than defeat. Edmund is freed and brought to Aslan, who speaks with him privately as well. When Edmund emerges from this conversation, he is clearly changed, humbled, repentant, and restored to his right mind. Aslan has forgiven him, and Edmund is reunited with his siblings. Peter apologizes to Edmund for his part in their conflict, and Edmund apologizes to all of them for his betrayal. Aslan explains that what has passed between him and Edmund need not be discussed again. Edmund has repented and been forgiven, and there is no need to keep bringing up his mistakes. This graciousness teaches the children about true forgiveness and moving forward. The next day, Aslan begins preparing his army for the coming battle. He takes Peter to the top of a hill and shows him Cair Paravel in the distance, the ancient castle where Peter will one day sit as High King. Aslan begins training Peter in warfare, teaching him strategy and courage. Peter is knighted by Aslan and given command of portions of the army. But that night, while most of the camp sleeps, Aslan rises once more. Susan and Lucy, still unable to sleep and worried about Aslan, see him leaving again. They follow once more, and again Aslan permits them to walk with him for a time. His sadness is even deeper than before, and the girls sense that something terrible is about to happen, though they do not understand what. The sacrifice at the stone table. Aslan walks toward the stone table, the ancient stone slab that sits on the hilltop where his camp is located. He asks Susan and Lucy to stop following and to stay hidden. From their hiding place, the girls witness a horrifying scene. The White Witch emerges from the darkness with her entire army of evil creatures, wolves with red eyes, spirits and specters, hags and ogres, bats, and every foul thing imaginable. They surround the stone table in a mockery of a celebration. To the girls' horror and confusion, Aslan does not fight or flee. He walks calmly into the midst of his enemies and surrenders himself to them. The witch's followers fall upon him with ropes, binding the great lion. They mock him and jeer at him, pulling his mane, spitting on him, kicking him. Aslan endures this humiliation without resistance, though the girls can see that with one roar or one swipe of his paw, he could destroy all of them. The witch herself approaches with a stone knife. She gloats over Aslan, mocking him for his sacrifice and his foolishness. She reveals the bargain they struck. Aslan has offered himself in Edmund's place. The deep magic requires a life for Edmund's betrayal, and Aslan has volunteered to die instead of the boy. The witch explains that she has won anyway because when Aslan is dead, there will be no one to stop her from conquering Narnia forever and killing the children regardless. The witch raises her stone knife and plunges it into Aslan. The great lion dies on the stone table, sacrificed for Edmund's treason. The witch and her army celebrate their victory with cruel revelry before departing to prepare for the coming battle, leaving Aslan's body on the stone. Susan and Lucy, who have watched this entire horrific scene from hiding, emerge in tears once the evil army has gone. They approach Aslan's body and weep over him through the remainder of the night. They try to untie his bonds and clean his wounds, treating his body with all the love and respect they can. Mice come and gnaw through the ropes that bind him. The girls keep vigil beside Aslan all night, heartbroken and hopeless. As dawn approaches, Susan and Lucy turn away from Aslan's body for just a moment. They hear a tremendous cracking sound and turn back to see something miraculous. The stone table has split completely in two, broken by some tremendous force. And Aslan's body is gone. The girls are confused and frightened until they hear a familiar voice behind them. They turn to find Aslan alive, restored, more magnificent and powerful than ever. He is filled with joy and light, and he invites the girls to join in his celebration. They are overjoyed and confused, asking how this is possible. Aslan explains that the witch knew the deep magic from the dawn of time, but there is a deeper magic from before the dawn of time that she did not know. The deeper magic states that when a willing victim who has committed no treachery is killed in a traitor's stead, the stone table will crack and death itself will be reversed. Aslan willingly died for Edmund, who was guilty, while Aslan himself was innocent. This ultimate act of self-sacrifice triggered the deeper magic, breaking death's power and restoring Aslan to life with even greater power than before. Aslan allows the delighted girls to climb on his back, and he runs with them across Narnia with incredible speed and joy. He carries them to the White Witch's castle, arriving there in a matter of moments despite the great distance. The castle courtyard is still filled with stone statues, all the victims of the witch's cruelty over the years. Aslan breathes on each statue, and one by one, they come back to life. Fauns, dryads, satyrs, centaurs, giants, and countless others are restored from stone to flesh. Among them is Mr. Tumnus, who is overjoyed to be reunited with Lucy. The courtyard erupts with celebration as Aslan frees all the prisoners. This army of freed captives will join Aslan's forces for the final battle against the witch. The battle for Narnia. While Aslan has been sacrificed and resurrected, Peter has been left in command of the army at the stone table. The White Witch approaches with her forces, confident of victory now that she believes Aslan is dead. Peter must make terrible decisions. He is just a boy, after all, not even a teenager, yet he must command an army in a battle that will determine the fate of an entire world. The two armies meet on a great battlefield. The witch's forces are terrifying wolves, evil spirits, monsters, and creatures twisted by dark magic. Peter's army consists of the noble creatures of Narnia, centaurs with their bows and spears, fauns, talking beasts, and all those loyal to Aslan. Edmund fights alongside his brother, determined to redeem himself and prove his loyalty. The battle is fierce and brutal. Creatures fall on both sides. Peter fights with the sword given to him by Father Christmas, proving himself a brave and capable warrior despite his youth. Susan uses her bow and arrows with deadly accuracy, helping to turn the tide in several crucial moments. The witch herself fights with terrible power, turning creatures to stone with her wand and spreading terror wherever she goes. Edmund, spotting an opportunity, charges toward the witch. He realizes that her wand is the source of much of her power. Every time she points it at a Narnian, they turn to stone, adding to her army of statues even in the midst of battle. If he can destroy the wand, it might change everything. Edmund fights his way through the witch's guards, managing to reach her and bring his sword down on her stone wand, shattering it. The destruction of the wand is a turning point in the battle, but it comes at a terrible cost. The witch, enraged, stabs Edmund with her own knife, wounding him grievously. Edmund falls to the ground, badly hurt but having succeeded in his mission. The witch prepares to finish him off when Peter arrives and engages her in direct combat. Peter and the White Witch duel intensely. She is stronger and more experienced, but Peter has courage, skill, and the advantage of youth. The battle hangs in the balance, and it seems that Peter might fall when suddenly Aslan appears on the battlefield, leading the freed prisoners from the witch's castle. The arrival of this massive reinforcement causes the witch's forces to falter. Aslan enters the fray, leaping over Peter to confront the witch directly. The battle between Aslan and Jadis is brief but definitive. With one swipe of his great paw, Aslan defeats the White Witch, ending her tyrannical reign forever. Her army, seeing their leader fallen and facing Aslan's overwhelming force, breaks and flees or surrenders. The battle is won, but the cost has been high. Many noble creatures have fallen. Peter rushes to Edmund's side and finds his brother barely alive, stabbed and bleeding. Lucy remembers her gift from Father Christmas, the cordial that can heal any wound. She administers a few drops to Edmund, and miraculously, his wounds close and he is restored to health. Lucy then goes through the battlefield, healing all the wounded she can reach, both from Aslan's army and even from the witch's forces if they desire healing. The crowning and return with the battle won and the White Witch defeated, Narnia is finally free. Aslan leads the victorious army to Cair Paravel, the ancient castle by the eastern sea. The castle has stood empty for generations, waiting for the fulfillment of the prophecy. Now that time has come. At Cair Paravel, in a grand ceremony attended by all the loyal creatures of Narnia, Aslan crowns the 4 children as kings and queens. Peter becomes High King Peter the Magnificent. Susan becomes Queen Susan the Gentle. Edmund, having redeemed himself through his courage and sacrifice, becomes King Edmund the Just, and Lucy becomes Queen Lucy the Valiant. They sit on the 4 thrones, and the ancient prophecy is fulfilled. The reign of the Pevensies has begun, and it will be remembered as the Golden Age of Narnia. The film shows a montage of the children's reign over Narnia. They grow from children into adults over the years, ruling wisely and well. King Peter leads armies and makes judgments. Queen Susan becomes a skilled diplomat, known for her wisdom and grace. King Edmund becomes a great warrior and wise counselor. Queen Lucy is beloved by all for her kindness and bravery. They establish peace and justice throughout the land, repair the damages of the witch's reign, and rule for many years. One day, when they are fully grown adults, they are riding through the forest on a hunting expedition, pursuing the white stag, a magical creature said to grant wishes to whoever catches it. The hunt leads them deeper into the forest until they come upon something that stirs old memories: a lamppost standing in the middle of the woods. Looking at the lamppost, the 4 rulers experience strange feelings of familiarity. They remember, dimly, that this place is somehow significant, though they cannot quite recall why. Against the advice of their courtiers, they decide to investigate. They walk past the lamppost, pushing through some trees, and suddenly they feel branches that are oddly familiar, like fur coats. They push forward, confused, and tumble out of the wardrobe into the spare room in the professor's house. They are children again, wearing the same clothes they wore when they left England. No time has passed at all in our world. They emerge from the wardrobe into the same game of hide and seek they were playing when they first entered. They stand in shock, trying to process what has just happened. Years of life in Narnia have occurred, yet in England, not even a moment has passed. The professor, hearing noise from the spare room, finds them there looking confused and overwhelmed. The children begin to try to explain where they have been, talking over each other about their adventures. The professor listens with interest and understanding, and it becomes clear that he knows more about Narnia than he has revealed. He tells them that they should not be surprised by such things, and indeed, they should not try to get back to Narnia by the same route. Things will happen when they are meant to happen. The professor tells them that once a king or queen in Narnia, always a king or queen. Their time in Narnia is not over, though it may be some time before they return. The film ends with the children looking at the wardrobe with new understanding, forever changed by their experiences in Narnia and the knowledge that they will return someday. This lengthy and detailed story showcases themes of redemption, sacrifice, courage, and the triumph of good over evil, all wrapped in an epic fantasy adventure that has captivated audiences for generations. The Chronicles of Narnia cast detailed life histories. William Moseley, King Peter Pevensey. William Peter Moseley was born on April 27, 1987, in Sheepscombe, Gloucestershire, England. He grew up in a creative and supportive family environment in the picturesque Cotswolds region of England. His father, Peter Moseley, was a cinematographer, which meant William was exposed to the film industry from a very young age. His mother, Juliet Fleming, also worked in the entertainment industry. Growing up with a father who worked behind the camera gave William unique insights into filmmaking that would later prove invaluable in his acting career. William has 2 younger siblings, a sister named Daisy and a brother named Ben. The Moseley household was one where creativity was encouraged, and all 3 children were given opportunities to explore their artistic interests. William developed an interest in performing arts during his childhood, participating in school plays and local theater productions in Gloucestershire. His natural charisma and presence on stage were evident from an early age. His education took place at Sheepscombe Primary School and later at Wycliffe College, a coeducational independent school in Stonehouse, Gloucestershire. At Wycliffe, William balanced his academic studies with his growing passion for acting. He was active in the school's drama department, and took every opportunity to perform. His teachers recognized his talent and encouraged him to pursue acting more seriously. William's entry into professional acting came when he was still quite young. Before landing the role of Peter Pevensie, he had already gained some experience in television. In 2002, at the age of 15, he appeared in the television film Goodbye, Mr. Chips, a remake of the classic story. This was followed by a role in the 2003 television movie Cider with Rosie, based on Lori Lee's autobiographical novel. These early roles helped William develop his craft and gain confidence in front of the camera. The audition process for the Chronicles of Narnia was extensive and competitive. Thousands of young actors from around the world auditioned for the 4 main roles. William went through multiple rounds of auditions, screen tests, and callbacks over several months. The filmmakers were looking for someone who could portray Peter's journey from a somewhat bossy older brother to a noble and courageous High King. William's maturity, natural leadership qualities, and ability to convey both vulnerability and strength made him the perfect choice. When William was cast as Peter Pevensie at the age of 17, it changed his life completely. The filming took place primarily in New Zealand and the Czech Republic over several months in 2004. William had to leave his regular schooling temporarily and continue his education through tutors on set, which is common for young actors working on major film productions. The experience of working on such a massive production with top-tier filmmakers, visual effects teams, and experienced actors was an incredible learning opportunity. During filming, William formed close bonds with his 3 co-stars Anna Popplewell, Skander Keynes, and Georgie Henley. The 4 young actors spent months together, and the sibling relationships they portrayed on screen were strengthened by genuine friendships off-screen. William, being the oldest of the 4, naturally took on something of a leadership role among the young cast members, much like his character Peter. The physical demands of the role were significant. William had to undergo extensive training in swordsmanship, horseback riding, and stage combat. He worked with professional stunt coordinators and fight choreographers to make the battle scenes look authentic and impressive. The climactic battle sequence required weeks of rehearsal and filming, often in challenging conditions. William performed many of his own stunts, though professional stunt doubles were used for the most dangerous sequences. When the Chronicles of Narnia, The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe was released in December 2005, it became a massive international success, and William found himself thrust into the spotlight as a recognizable young actor. He attended premieres around the world, did countless interviews, and experienced the surreal nature of sudden fame. For a young man who had been relatively unknown just months before, the experience was both exciting and overwhelming. William reprised his role as Peter Pevensie in the sequel, The Chronicles of Narnia, Prince Caspian, which was released in 2008. However, due to the timeline of the Narnia books, Peter and Susan do not appear in The Voyage of the Dawn Treader, so William's time as Peter concluded with Prince Caspian, though he did make a brief cameo appearance in the 3rd film. After the Narnia films, William faced the challenge that many young actors encounter transitioning from a famous role into a sustainable adult acting career. He was careful about the projects he chose, not wanting to be typecast solely as Peter Pevensie. He took on a variety of roles in different genres to showcase his range as an actor. In 2009, William appeared in the British comedy film Run Fatba Run, and had a role in the television series Doctor Who, one of Britain's most beloved science fiction shows. He continued to work steadily in both film and television, taking on roles in projects like The Chronicles of Narnia, The Voyage of the Dawn Treader, where he had a small cameo, The Silent Mountain, an Italian war drama film, and Carrie Pilby, an American comedy drama. William also ventured into American television, landing a leading role in the E! Network series, The Royals, which premiered in 2015. In this drama series, he played Prince Liam, a fictional member of the British royal family. The show ran for 4 seasons until 2018, and it gave William the opportunity to play a more mature and complex character. His performance was well received, and the show helped him build a new fanbase beyond the Narnia audience. Throughout his career, William has remained relatively private about his personal life, preferring to keep the focus on his work rather than celebrity culture. He has spoken in interviews about the impact that playing Peter Pevensey had on his life, expressing gratitude for the opportunity while also acknowledging the challenges of being so closely associated with one iconic role. In recent years, William has continued to work in both film and television, appearing in various independent films and television projects. He has expressed interest in eventually moving into directing and producing, following somewhat in his father's footsteps and working behind the camera as well as in front of it. William has also remained close with his former Narnia castmates, particularly Skander Keynes and Anna Popplewell, and they occasionally reunite for Narnia-related events or personal gatherings. William has also been involved in various charitable causes over the years, though he tends to keep his philanthropic work relatively private. He has supported organizations focused on children's welfare and education, causes that are close to his heart given his own positive experiences as a young actor. Now in his mid-30s, William Moseley has successfully navigated the transition from child actor to adult performer, building a respectable career that extends well beyond his most famous role. He continues to work steadily in the entertainment industry, choosing projects that interest him and challenge him as an actor. His portrayal of Peter Pevensey remains one of the most beloved aspects of the Chronicles of Narnia films and introduced him to millions of fans worldwide. Anna Popplewell, Queen Susan Pevensey, Anna Catherine Popplewell was born on December 16, 1988, in London, England. She came from an academic and cultured family background. Her father, Andrew Popplewell, is a High Court judge, one of the senior judges in England and Wales. Her mother, Deborah Lomas, worked as a dermatologist, a medical specialist. This professional and educated family environment meant that Anna grew up with an emphasis on both academic achievement and cultural enrichment. Anna has 2 siblings, both of whom also became actors. Her younger sister Lulu Popplewell has appeared in various British television productions, and her brother Freddie Popplewell also pursued acting for a time. Growing up in London, the 3 Popplewell children were exposed to theatre, museums, and the arts from an early age, which fostered Anna's interest in performance. Anna's education was impressive and reflected her family's academic values. She attended North London Collegiate School, one of the leading independent schools for girls in England, known for its academic rigor and excellent results. Even while pursuing her acting career, Anna remained committed to her education. She later studied English literature at Magdalen College, Oxford, one of the most prestigious colleges at one of the world's most renowned universities. Balancing a demanding university education with a film career demonstrated Anna's intelligence, discipline, and work ethic. Anna began acting at a remarkably young age. She was only 6 years old when she made her first professional appearance, taking on small roles in television productions. Her first credited role came in 1998 when she appeared in the television film Frenchman's Creek. This was followed by appearances in British television series and films throughout her childhood and early teenage years. Before Narnia made her an international star, Anna had already built up an impressive resume of British television work. She appeared in the popular medical drama Casualty, the long-running series Holby City, and had a recurring role in the comedy drama series Love in a Cold Climate. She also appeared in several television films and miniseries. One of her more notable early roles was in the British television adaptation of Girl with a Pearl Earring, where she played a younger version of the main character. Her most significant pre-Narnia role came when she was cast as Cheryl, a main character in the British television series The Little House. This series gave Anna substantial screen time and the opportunity to develop a character over multiple episodes. Her performance was noticed by casting directors and helped establish her as a talented young actress with potential for larger roles. When Anna auditioned for the role of Susan Pevensey, she was 16 years old and already a working professional actress with years of experience, unlike some of her co-stars who were relative newcomers. This experience showed in her audition and her performance. The filmmakers were looking for someone who could portray Susan's practical nature, her maternal instincts toward her younger siblings, her initial skepticism about Narnia, and her eventual courage and leadership. Anna embodied all of these qualities. The filming of the Chronicles of Narnia was an intense and transformative experience for Anna. Like her co-stars, she spent months in New Zealand and other locations, working long days on elaborate sets and learning new skills. Anna had to become proficient in archery for the role, as Susan is known for her skill with the bow and arrow. She worked with professional archery instructors and practiced extensively to make her action scenes look authentic and impressive. The training was rigorous, but Anna embraced it enthusiastically. Anna brought a sophistication and maturity to the role of Susan that was perfect for the character. Susan is often the voice of reason among the siblings, sometimes overly cautious, but always caring deeply about her family's safety. Anna portrayed these qualities with nuance, making Susan a fully realized character rather than just a stereotype of the sensible older sister. Her performance showed Susan's journey from skepticism to belief, from wanting to go home to becoming a courageous queen. The success of the first Narnia film in 2005 brought Anna significant recognition and opened up new opportunities. She became known to audiences worldwide, attended international premieres and promotional events, and did extensive press for the film. Despite this newfound fame, Anna remained focused on both her acting career and her education. Anna returned for the sequel, The Chronicles of Narnia, Prince Caspian, in 2008. This film showed the characters as teenagers returning to Narnia to find that hundreds of years had passed there, even though only 1 year had passed in England. Anna's performance showed Susan's growth and her complicated feelings about leaving Narnia behind. The film featured more action sequences for Susan, including an impressive sword and archery battle scene in a castle, which Anna performed with skill and commitment. Like William Moseley, Anna did not appear as a main character in the Chronicles of Narnia, The Voyage of the Dawn Treader, though she had a brief cameo. According to the books, Peter and Susan are told they are now too old to return to Narnia, which was an emotional conclusion to their characters' journeys. During and after her time with Narnia, Anna continued her education at Oxford University. Attending one of the world's most prestigious universities while also maintaining an acting career was challenging, but Anna managed both successfully. She has spoken in interviews about how important education was to her and her family, and she was determined not to let her acting career prevent her from completing her degree. She graduated from Oxford with honors in English literature. After completing her formal education, Anna continued to build her acting career with a variety of roles in both British and American productions. She appeared in the British supernatural thriller series, Collision, and had roles in various television movies and independent films. She was selective about her projects, choosing roles that interested her artistically rather than simply pursuing fame or high-profile projects. One of Anna's most significant post-Narnia roles came when she was cast in the popular Showtime series Reign, a historical fantasy drama about Mary, Queen of Scots. Anna played Lady Lola, one of Mary's ladies-in-waiting and a main character throughout the series. Reign ran from 2013 to 2017, and Anna appeared in numerous episodes across multiple seasons. This role introduced her to a new generation of fans and showcased her ability to play more mature and complex characters. Her performance in Reign was praised for bringing depth and humanity to her character, and she became a fan favorite on the show. Anna has also worked in theater, returning to her roots in live performance. She has appeared in various stage productions in London, demonstrating her versatility as a performer. Theater work is often considered the most challenging form of acting, requiring actors to deliver consistent performances night after night without the safety net of multiple takes and editing. Anna's success in theater has earned her respect from critics and fellow actors. In her personal life, Anna married her longtime boyfriend Sam Caird in 2016. Caird is an actor and director who has worked in British theatre. The couple has maintained a relatively private life, with Anna rarely discussing her personal relationships in interviews or on social media. She has expressed that she values her privacy and prefers to keep her personal and professional lives separate. Anna has also been involved in various charitable activities over the years, particularly those focused on children's literacy and education. Given her own strong educational background and her role in bringing literature to life through the Narnia films, she is passionate about encouraging young people to read and pursue their education. In recent years, Anna has continued to work steadily in both television and film, appearing in various British and international productions. She has also expressed interest in eventually working behind the camera, potentially in writing or producing. Her strong educational background in English literature has given her skills in storytelling and narrative that could translate well to other aspects of filmmaking. Now in her mid-30s, Anna Popplewell has successfully built a career that extends well beyond her most famous role as Susan Pevensey. She is respected in the industry as a talented, intelligent, and professional actress who brings depth and commitment to every role. Her portrayal of Susan remains beloved by Narnia fans, and she has spoken warmly in interviews about her time on the films and her continued friendship with her former castmates. Anna represents a successful example of a child actor who transitioned to an adult career while also prioritizing education and personal growth. Skander Keynes, King Edmund Pevensey. Skander Amin Caspar Keynes was born on September 5, 1991, in London, England, into a family with an extraordinary intellectual and cultural heritage. His birth name reflects his multicultural background. Skander is a variant of Alexander, showing his family's diverse cultural connections. He comes from a family of remarkable achievement in various fields, which would later influence his own life choices in unexpected ways. Skander's family background is truly impressive. His father, Randall Keynes, is a British conservationist and author who wrote a book about his famous ancestor Charles Darwin titled Annie's Box, Charles Darwin, His Daughter and Human Evolution. Yes, Skander is a direct descendant of Charles Darwin, one of the most influential scientists in human history. This connection to Darwin comes through his father's side of the family, making Skander the great-great-great-grandson of the naturalist who developed the theory of evolution. But the remarkable lineage does not stop there. Through his mother's side, Skander is descended from other notable historical figures. His mother, Zelfa Cecil Hourani, is of Lebanese ancestry, and through her family, Skander is related to various notable Middle Eastern intellectuals and scholars. This combination of British and Lebanese heritage gave Skander a unique multicultural perspective from birth. Skander also has famous relatives in more recent generations. His uncle is the historian Rana Kabani, and he is related to economist Cecil Hourani and other prominent academic figures. Perhaps most interestingly for someone entering the entertainment industry, Skander is related to economist John Maynard Keynes, one of the most influential economists of the 20th century, whose ideas fundamentally shaped modern economic theory and government policy. Growing up in such an intellectually accomplished family naturally influenced Skander's upbringing and values. Education and intellectual achievement were highly valued in the Keynes household. Skander has one older sister, Somaya Keynes, who followed the family's academic tradition and became an accomplished economist and journalist, currently working as the economics editor for The Economist magazine. Skander attended the prestigious Anna Scher's Theatre School in London, where many successful British actors have trained. This school is known for its naturalistic approach to acting and has produced numerous talented performers who went on to successful careers in film and television. At Anna Scher's, Skander learned the fundamentals of acting and developed his natural talent for performance. Before being cast in the Chronicles of Narnia, Skander had limited acting experience. He appeared in a small role in the 2001 film Ferrari, but he was relatively unknown when he auditioned for the role of Edmund Pevensey. What he lacked in extensive experience, he made up for in raw talent, intelligence, and the ability to understand and portray complex emotions. The role of Edmund Pevensey is arguably the most challenging of the four Pevensey children. Edmund undergoes the most dramatic character arc in the story. He begins as a spiteful, jealous boy who betrays his siblings, then must face the consequences of his actions, experience genuine repentance, earn forgiveness, and ultimately redeem himself through courage and sacrifice. This is a sophisticated emotional journey for any actor, let alone a 13-year-old. Skander's audition impressed the filmmakers with his ability to convey Edmund's complexity. Edmund is not simply a villain, he is a hurt, confused child who makes terrible choices for understandable reasons. He resents his older brother Peter, feels overlooked and undervalued, and is manipulated by the White Witch when she exploits his vulnerabilities. Skander understood these nuances and brought them to his performance. During the filming of the Chronicles of Narnia, The Lion, the Witch and the Wardrobe, Skander was just 13 years old, the same age as his character. The production was demanding, with long days on set, complex emotional scenes, and challenging action sequences. Skander had to portray Edmund's betrayal, his captivity and mistreatment by the witch, his reconciliation with Aslan and his siblings, and his redemption in battle where he destroys the witch's wand but is gravely wounded in the process. One of the most challenging scenes for Skander was the sequence where Edmund is captive with the White Witch. He had to convey Edmund's fear, regret, and growing realization of his terrible mistake, all while working with actress Tilda Swinton, who portrayed the witch with chilling intensity. These scenes required Skander to access deep emotions and maintain them through multiple takes and camera angles. Skander's performance was widely praised as one of the highlights of the film. Critics noted that he brought genuine depth to Edmund's character, making him sympathetic even when he was behaving badly, and making his redemption feel earned and emotionally satisfying. Edmund's journey from traitor to King Edmund the Just is the moral heart of the story, and Skander carried that responsibility with remarkable skill for such a young actor. The success of the film brought Skander international recognition. He attended premieres around the world, did promotional tours, and experienced the sudden fame that comes with being in a major Hollywood blockbuster. For a young teenager from an intellectual family, this must have been both exciting and somewhat surreal. Skander returned to play Edmund in the Chronicles of Narnia, Prince Caspian in 2008. In this sequel, Edmund has matured and is now a confident, brave young king who returns to Narnia with his siblings. The film allowed Skander to show Edmund's growth and his transformation into a noble warrior and wise counselor. His sword-fighting skills had improved since the first film, and he performed admirably in the battle sequences. He also appeared in the Chronicles of Narnia, The Voyage of the Dawn Treader in 2010, the third and final Narnia film. In this installment, Edmund and Lucy are the two Pevensey children who return to Narnia, along with their cousin Eustace. Skander was now a young man in his late teens, and his performance showed Edmund's continued maturity and leadership. However, unlike many young actors who continue in the entertainment industry after their breakout role, Skander made a surprising and somewhat unusual decision. Despite the success of the Narnia films and the opportunities that success would have provided for continued acting work, Skander chose to step away from acting and return to academics. Skander enrolled at Pembroke College, Cambridge University, one of the most prestigious universities in the world, to study Arabic and Middle Eastern history. This choice reflected both his multicultural heritage through his Lebanese mother and his family's strong tradition of intellectual achievement. At Cambridge, Skander immersed himself in rigorous academic study, focusing on the language, culture, history, and politics of the Middle East. The decision to leave acting behind surprised many fans and industry observers, but it was consistent with the values of Skander's family. In interviews before he left acting, Skander had spoken about the importance of education and how his family emphasized academic achievement. His choice demonstrated that he valued intellectual growth and learning over fame and the entertainment industry. While at Cambridge, Skander kept a relatively low profile and focused on his studies. He graduated with honors and then made another significant career choice. He entered the field of politics and international affairs rather than returning to acting. After completing his degree, Skander worked as a parliamentary advisor in the British political system, specifically focusing on Middle Eastern affairs and international relations. His work in politics has involved advising members of Parliament on Middle Eastern policy, helping to shape British diplomatic positions, and contributing to policy discussions on international affairs. This work draws directly on his academic background and represents a complete departure from his former career in entertainment. Skander has essentially chosen a path of public service and intellectual contribution over the celebrity and financial rewards he could have pursued in acting. Skander has given very few interviews since leaving acting, preferring to maintain his privacy and focus on his work in politics and policy. In the rare interviews he has given, he has spoken respectfully about his time in the Narnia films and expressed gratitude for the experience, while also making it clear that acting was something he did as a young person but that his true interests and passions lie elsewhere. He has maintained friendships with some of his former Narnia castmates, particularly William Moseley, and occasionally makes very rare public appearances at Narnia-related reunions or events, though these are infrequent. Skander seems to value his privacy highly and has successfully transitioned away from the public eye despite his fame from the Narnia films. In his personal life, Skander has kept details extremely private. He is not active on social media and rarely appears in public in any capacity related to his former acting career. This level of privacy is unusual for someone who was once in such high-profile films, but it is consistent with his choice to pursue a different path in life. Skander Caines represents a fascinating case study of a young actor who achieved significant success and fame but chose to pursue intellectual and professional goals that mattered more to him than continued work in entertainment. His decision reflects the influence of his remarkable family background, his own intellectual capabilities, and his personal values. While fans of the Narnia films would have loved to see him continue acting, his choice to contribute to public policy and international affairs is admirable and demonstrates that there are many ways to make meaningful contributions to the world beyond entertainment. Now in his early 30s, Skander continues his work in politics and international affairs, largely out of the public eye. His portrayal of Edmund Pevensey remains one of the most beloved aspects of the Narnia films, and he gave audiences a memorable performance of redemption and growth. His life after acting demonstrates that child stars can successfully transition to completely different careers and that the skills developed in one field, intelligence, discipline, the ability to understand complex emotions and motivations, can transfer successfully to entirely different professions. Georgie Henley, Queen Lucy Pevensey. Georgina Helen Henley was born on July 9, 1995, in Ilkley, West Yorkshire, England. She grew up in this charming market town in northern England with her parents, Mike and Helen Henley, and her two older sisters, Rachel and Laura. The Henley family was a close-knit, supportive unit that encouraged creativity and imagination in their children. Georgie, as she has always been known, was the youngest of the three sisters and showed an interest in performing from a very early age. She was a naturally imaginative and expressive child, the kind of little girl who would create elaborate fantasy games and stories. This creative spirit and natural charm would later make her perfect for the role of Lucy Pevensey, the most believing and imaginative of the four siblings in the Narnia story. Georgie attended Moorfield School for Girls in Ilkley, a local independent school known for its supportive environment and strong academic programs. Even as a young child, she participated enthusiastically in school drama productions and showed a natural talent for performance. Her teachers noted that she had an unusual ability to fully commit to characters and scenarios, losing herself completely in imaginative play. Unlike her co-stars who had some prior acting experience, Georgie had never acted professionally before auditioning for the Chronicles of Narnia. She was just 8 years old when she heard about auditions being held for the role of Lucy Pevensey. Her older sister Laura, who was interested in acting, went to audition, and Georgie tagged along. On a whim, or perhaps recognizing something special in the bright-eyed young girl, the casting directors asked Georgie if she would like to audition as well. Georgie's audition was remarkable for its naturalness and emotional honesty. She was not trying to act in the way that some child actors do, consciously performing. Instead, she simply reacted truthfully to the imaginary scenarios presented to her. This quality, the ability to genuinely believe in and react to fantasy situations, was exactly what the filmmakers needed for Lucy, the character who most easily believes in and loves Narnia. The casting process took several months and included multiple callbacks and screen tests. Georgie competed against thousands of other young girls from around the world for the role. What set her apart was her natural wonder, her expressive face and eyes that could convey deep emotion, and her genuine quality that made audiences instantly trust and care about her. When she was finally offered the role, it changed her life and the life of her family forever. Filming the Chronicles of Narnia, The Lion, the Witch and the Wardrobe was an extraordinary experience for such a young child. Georgie was only 8 years old when production began, filming her first major movie while most children her age were in primary school playing with friends. The production took her to New Zealand, the Czech Republic, and various other locations, exposing her to a world far beyond Ilkley, Yorkshire. The filmmakers made a beautiful decision regarding Georgie's first scene in Narnia when Lucy steps through the wardrobe and sees the lamppost in the snowy forest for the first time. They did not show Georgie the set beforehand. They filmed her genuine reaction of awe and wonder when she first saw the magical lamppost standing in the snowy forest. The look of amazement on her face in that scene is completely real. It is Georgie, not just Lucy, experiencing wonder at seeing something impossible and beautiful. Working with the experienced actor James McAvoy, who played Mr. Tumnus, was also a wonderful experience for young Georgie. McAvoy was kind and patient with her, and their on-screen chemistry as Lucy and Tumnus developed naturally. The scenes between them have a genuine warmth that audiences responded to, establishing the emotional heart of the film. Throughout the production, Georgie had to balance the demands of being a working actress with the needs of childhood. British law has strict regulations about child actors, including limits on working hours and requirements for education. Georgie had tutors on set who ensured she kept up with her schoolwork, and the production schedule was arranged to give her adequate rest and play time. Despite these protections, the demands were significant. Georgie had to perform emotionally complex scenes, including crying and expressing grief over Aslan's death, confronting her fear of the White Witch, and portraying the joy and wonder that Lucy feels throughout her adventures. She also had to work with green screens, act opposite characters that would be added in post-production, and maintain consistency across multiple takes and camera angles. For an 8-year-old, this required impressive focus and professionalism. Georgie's performance was universally praised by critics as one of the film's greatest strengths. Many reviews specifically mentioned her as a standout, noting that she brought genuine heart and soul to the film. Her portrayal of Lucy made the character beloved by audiences of all ages, and she became the emotional center of the movie. When Lucy grieves, the audience grieves. When she experiences joy, the audience feels that joy. This ability to connect emotionally with viewers is a rare gift, and Georgie possessed it naturally. The film's success made Georgie famous virtually overnight. She went from being an unknown schoolgirl from Yorkshire to an internationally recognized actress. She attended glamorous premieres in London, New York, Los Angeles, and around the world. She did countless interviews and photo shoots. For a child of 9, this must have been both thrilling and overwhelming. Despite the sudden fame, Georgie's family worked hard to keep her grounded and maintain as normal a childhood as possible. She continued to attend her school in Ilkley when not filming, played with her friends, and her parents made sure she was not consumed by the entertainment industry. This balance was important for her development both as a person and as an actress. Georgie returned to play Lucy in the Chronicles of Narnia, Prince Caspian in 2008. Now in her early teens, Georgie had grown as both a person and an actress. The sequel showed Lucy as older and more confident, though she still possessed the same faith and belief that characterized her in the first film. Georgie's performance showed her development as an actress, handling more complex emotional scenes and more demanding action sequences. She continued the role in the Chronicles of Narnia, The Voyage of the Dawn Treader in 2010. In this film, Lucy struggles with issues of self-esteem and her appearance, jealous of her older sister Susan's beauty. This storyline required Georgie to portray more mature emotional conflicts, and she handled these scenes with depth and sensitivity. She was now a teenager playing a younger version of the character, and she brought both her own maturity and Lucy's essential innocence to the role. As Georgie grew older, she faced the same question many child actors confront: what comes next? Unlike Skander Keynes, who left acting entirely, Georgie chose to continue pursuing performance, but she did so thoughtfully and with an emphasis on education and artistic growth rather than just fame. Georgie continued her education while also working as an actress. She attended Bradford Grammar School, an independent school in West Yorkshire known for its academic excellence. She balanced her studies with occasional acting work, appearing in various British television programs and films. She was careful about the roles she chose, looking for interesting characters rather than just high-profile projects. After completing her secondary education, Georgie made the decision to pursue formal training in acting and related arts at university level. She was accepted to Clare College, Cambridge University, one of the most prestigious colleges at one of the world's leading universities. At Cambridge, Georgie studied English literature, the same subject that her former co-star Anna Popplewell had studied at Oxford. While at Cambridge, Georgie was heavily involved in theatrical productions. Cambridge has a rich tradition of student theatre, and many of Britain's finest actors, writers, and directors got their start performing in Cambridge productions. Georgie acted in numerous plays, directed productions, and even began writing. She embraced the collaborative, experimental nature of university theater and used it as an opportunity to grow as an artist. Georgie graduated from Cambridge with an excellent degree and then pursued additional training at the Royal Northern College of Music in Manchester, studying acting and theater. This combination of academic education and professional training gave her a strong foundation for a sustained career as a serious actress. Since completing her formal education, Georgie has continued to work as an actress while also expanding into writing and directing. She has appeared in various British television series, including The Spanish Princess, a historical drama where she played Margaret Tudor. She has also appeared in independent films and continued theater work. In addition to acting, Georgie has ventured into filmmaking. She wrote, directed, and starred in a short film called Anemone, which deals with themes of mental health and trauma. The film was screened at several film festivals and demonstrated Georgie's talent behind the camera as well as in front of it. She has spoken in interviews about her desire to tell stories that matter, particularly focusing on female experiences and mental health issues. Georgie has also been open about her own experiences with a chronic health condition. She has type 1 diabetes, which she was diagnosed with as a child. She has spoken publicly about managing this condition while working as an actress, including the challenges of maintaining stable blood sugar levels during demanding film productions. Her openness about this has helped raise awareness about diabetes and inspired others living with the condition. In terms of her personal life, Georgie is more private than some celebrities, but occasionally shares aspects of her life on social media. She has been in a long-term relationship with her boyfriend, who is not in the entertainment industry, and she values the normalcy that this relationship provides. She has spoken about the importance of having a life outside of acting and maintaining connections with friends and family from before she was famous. Georgie has maintained close friendships with her Narnia castmates, particularly Skander Keynes and William Moseley. She has spoken warmly in interviews about how the four young leads formed a kind of family during the filming of the movies and how those bonds have lasted. She occasionally appears at Narnia fan events or reunions, clearly appreciative of the role that launched her career and the impact it had on so many people. One interesting aspect of Georgie's career is how she has embraced the legacy of Narnia, while also moving beyond it. She understands that Lucy Pevensey will always be an important part of her identity and career, and she speaks about the role with affection and gratitude. At the same time, she is determined to be recognized as a serious artist with range and depth, not just a little girl from Narnia. In recent years, Georgie has continued to work steadily in British film and television, while also developing her skills as a writer and director. She has expressed interest in creating content that addresses important social issues, particularly those affecting women and young people. Her education, combined with her years of experience in the industry, have given her a unique perspective on storytelling and its power to create understanding and change. Georgie has also been involved in various charitable causes over the years. She has supported organizations focused on children's literacy, diabetes research, and mental health awareness. She uses her platform thoughtfully, speaking out on issues she cares about while maintaining appropriate boundaries around her privacy. Now in her late 20s, Georgie Henley has successfully transitioned from child actress to adult performer, filmmaker, and artist. She has avoided the pitfalls that trap many child actors, maintaining her education, building genuine skills as a performer and creator, and keeping herself grounded with strong family relationships and friendships outside the industry. Her portrayal of Lucy Pevensey remains beloved by millions of fans around the world. The genuine wonder, faith, and courage she brought to the role captured the essence of C.S. Lewis's character and introduced countless young people to the world of Narnia. But Georgie is far more than just Lucy Pevensey. She is a talented, educated, thoughtful artist who is building a career on her own terms, telling stories that matter to her, and using her talents to create meaningful work. Her journey from a bright-eyed 8-year-old girl stepping through a wardrobe into a fantasy world to an accomplished actress, director, and writer is a testament to her talent, intelligence, and the strong foundation provided by her family and education.